Welcome back, guys, to my series of X-Men reviews leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine, and oh my gosh, guys, we are literally in the week of release for Deadpool and Wolverine. It's coming, guys. It's coming. I still got 2 more X-Men movies to review after this movie, so I need to get those review done before Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm on a pretty tight schedule here. So, guys, last review I've done is X-Men Origins Wolverine, which in my opinion is the worst X-Men movie in this entire series. And now we are back to the great X-Men movies again. Man, out of all the X-Men reviews that I'm doing on this channel, this is the one that I'm mostly excited to review, with of course Deadpool and Wolverine of course, but definitely out of the X-Men movies that I want to review, I cannot wait to review this one, and that film is X-Men First Class. This movie came out in 2011, and this movie is directed by Vaughn, and this movie stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult, Zoe Kravitz, Rose Byrne, and Kevin Bacon. And of course, guys, spoilers. I will talk about some moments, especially in this movie, in full detail, so if you have not seen X-Men First Class, you've been completely warned. But I think I warned you guys from the beginning that I will talk about some spoilers for every X-Men movie I'm going to review here. Now, back in 2011, when this movie is announced, talking about, okay, this is going to be an origin story of Charles Xavier and Magneto, how they became friends to foe. And I honestly was thinking, okay, that could be interesting, but after the success of X-Men Origins Wolverine, we were all worried about this movie. The trailers actually look really bad. Like, these trailers for this movie aren't that good. The only good trailer for X-Men First Class is actually the international trailer, where I'm like, this is a good trailer. This is how you should market X-Men First Class. And when the movie came out, of course, it's the movie that brings back X-Men, brings back good X-Men movies once again. Now, with my opinion for X-Men First Class, there's always a favorite in a series. There's always a number one favorite in this series. And this, I don't know if this can consider as an unpopular opinion, because some people could agree with me, some people could disagree with me, but out of the X-Men movies that I've watched before Deadpool Wolverine, I watched every single X-Men movies, even the ones that I'm not going to review, leading up to Deadpool Wolverine, because I got a feeling Deadpool Wolverine is going to bring us something special with the X-Men movies. Out of all the movies, from Days of Future Past to Logan to Deadpool, I would say, for an opinion that I have for this movie, X-Men First Class, in my opinion, is my favorite. This is my favorite movie in the entire X-Men series. Yes, over Days of Future Past, over the first Deadpool, over Logan. Even though I freaking love those movies, I love those movies so much, there's always a favorite. And I would say X-Men First Class is absolutely my favorite. Not just that this is one of the best X-Men films in my opinion. Not just this is a really good superhero film, but this is an excellent prequel and origin story to the original X-Men movies. This is a prequel of how X-Men came alive, and this is a prequel about how Charles Xavier and Eric Lancher, Professor X, and Magneto became long-life friends to enemies. And I gotta say, guys, this movie is written extremely well. I cannot believe X-Men First Class is my favorite. From all the rewatches that I've done, X-Men First Class is definitely a movie that I would remember absolutely in this series. And that is thanks to 2 actors here, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. Them 2 is what made this movie fantastic in my opinion. Them 2, as Charles Xavier and Eric Lancher, those 2 are absolutely incredible in this movie. Let's talk about them individually. James McAvoy. This is the first time I discovered James McAvoy in a film back in 2011. And honestly, this is a performance that blew me away. He is fantastic as the young Charles Xavier / Professor X. I love that this is a story about him learning about peace with mutants and learning how mutation is basically all about. I love that Professor X in this movie is just loving mutation. He loves mutants. Every time he sees a new mutant, he gets really excited about it. And this is how he became basically a teacher and caring about the mutants and caring about the lifetime between humans and mutants. And James McAvoy just performs that role very freaking well. You definitely feel like he is a young Patrick Stewart here, and James McAvoy is fantastic in this movie. But of course, to me, I would say this is the movie for me. This is a scene stealer for this movie. Man, Michael Fassbender as Eric Lancer / Magneto. Man, I'm gonna say this for an unpopular opinion here. As much as I do love Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto in the original X-Men movies, I gotta say, Michael Fassbender kind of beat him in my personal opinion. This is my favorite Magneto, betrayal of Magneto in this entire franchise. Because he's a character that you definitely do follow the most in this movie. Yes, this is about both Professor X and Magneto, but honestly, I was rooting for Magneto in this film, and this is a hard thing to do, root for a villain. But when you see his backstory in this film, and his plot, you really get Eric Lancer's arc in this film. And man, Michael Fassbender is badass in this film when it comes to the action scenes and his emotional stake and his arc. Like when you find out his backstory in this film, him as a kid in this war camp with Kevin Bacon and he shot his mom right in front of him, you see slowly how he doesn't give a shit about humans and just wants to live as mutants in peace and war against the humans, and you completely get Michael Fassbender's character in this film. You get Ian McKellen's character in the original X-Men movies too, but this movie goes for a higher level. You really felt so sympathy for Eric Lancer in this film. And you can understand why he's like this, why he wants revenge against Kevin Bacon's character. And man, Michael Fassbender, oh my god, so many great Magneto scenes. I would say is one of the best Magneto scenes in this entire series, especially to me, the bar scene where Eric gets revenge on the Nazis that's responsible for the camp that he's in when he's younger. And man, after he just stabs that guy in the hand, gets rid of the guy with the gun, and saying, I am Frankenstein's monster and I'm looking for my creator, with Henry Jackson's fantastic score, which we'll get back to that later. That is, in my opinion, one of my favorite Magneto scenes ever put in an X-Men movie, and that is thanks to Michael Fassbender's performance. He is just so badass in this film, and you understand his motives. But the chemistry between James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender is what made this film great. You can tell they're going to be lifelong friends to enemies because they both have the same reasons, but also different motivations, and you definitely understand both of their points of views. The way they just written these characters are so fantastic in this film. Of course, the main thing about this film is that the X-Men have to stop Kevin Bacon's character, Sebastian Shaw, in this movie, which I think he is a fantastic villain. I would say over Footloose, this is probably one of Kevin Bacon's best performances, because he's one of those villains that you absolutely love to hate. You hate this guy. His mutation is really cool in this film, that he absorbs energy and brings it back. That's a really cool mutation. But man, you just hate Kevin Bacon's character so much. You understand why Magneto wants to kill this guy. He's definitely a villain in this movie. You know, like with the original X-Men movies with Magneto, he's a villain that has motivations and you understand him. Sure, you don't. You just freaking hate this guy. And Kevin Bacon just does a really phenomenal job in this film. And just the battle between him and Michael Fassbender in the film is really well done in this film. And his army in the film is also really cool in this film. We got a Zaxxor that's pretty much Nightcrawler's clone, but as a devil, he teleports and he's freaking cool in this film. Riptide creates tornadoes. We got January Jones as Emma Frost, which is pretty cool in the film in my opinion. A lot of people didn't like January Jones. I thought she was fine in the film. And Zoe Kravitz as Angel, which I find her character interesting because she starts joining Charles Xavier's team and then kind of moves to evil in the film very, very quickly. And I think Zoe Kravitz does a really cool job in the film. She has ability of wings in the film. She has back wings that look pretty cool in my personal opinion. So yeah, Shaw's army is really cool in the film. And since, of course, Shaw has an army and the X-Men has to stop him, of course Charles Xavier and Eric Lancer has to create their own team, and I thought they're very cool as well. Lucas Toll as Havoc, he's pretty cool in this film. Nicholas Hoult as Beast is also really good in this film. Caleb Lowry Jones as Banshee is, to me, underrated in this film. He's so cool in this film. He has a mutation of supersonic breath that helps him fly. It's so cool in this film. And of course, Rose Byrne as Maria Mataga is also really good in this film. She has a really cute chemistry with Charles Xavier in this film. But I gotta say, Jennifer Lawrence. Let's talk about Jennifer Lawrence as Raven / Mystique, because she's another character that I do think you understand her motives, because her mutation, of course, you know her mutation. She can take form of other human beings or mutants, and I thought her ability is cool. But I love her arc in this film. Like, Mystique as a character in the X-Men movies, she's just a badass. This movie, we understand her motives because she doesn't know if she wants to get rid of her physical form or keep her physical form. Of course, Nicholas Hoult as Beast has a cure for that she can still be a mutant, but she can keep her actual self as Jennifer Lawrence. But Michael Fassbender said, you look good just the way you are as a blue being. And I really do love Raven's arc in this film. And this is before Hunger Games. And I think Jennifer Lawrence is really good in this film. But just the overall story of this film, Matthew Vaughn directed this movie extremely well. Like, out of Matthew Vaughn's films, this is definitely his best. You understand the character's motives. You understand how this prequel ties in with the original X-Men movies. This is definitely a perfect prequel in my opinion. And I like prequel/origin stories to films because I like when you see things from the very beginning of how things happen. And this movie just ties it in very, very well. How Charles Xavier becomes paralyzed. How Magneto turns out the way he is. How the X-Men is basically formed. This movie is written extremely well. And out of the X-Men films, this is definitely the most action-packed out of the X-Men movies. And man, the action scenes in this movie is fantastic. Like I said, the bar scene with Magneto, which is in my opinion one of the best Magneto scenes put into film. But just the entire action scenes are great in general. From the third act of this film, where Magneto just lifts a fucking submarine, and just the X-Men showing their powers and battling Shaw's army. It's just so well directed. Matthew Vaughn directed the action extremely well, even from the training scenes, even for some heist scenes as well. This movie has some, to me, the best action scenes I've seen in an X-Men movie. There's even some great emotional scenes as well. This movie definitely has a great amount of heart to this film. There are some really good emotional moments, especially towards the end where, of course, Professor X is paralyzed, and of course Magneto blames Rose Byrne's character for this, but of course he did it, which creates a really emotional dynamic with them too. Even this one particular scene, in my opinion, is one of the best freaking emotional scenes that I have seen in the series, is when Charles Xavier goes into Magneto's head and sees the memories that he has with his mother. Man, it's just so emotional. I even see Charles Xavier in tears. It shows a really good dynamic with them two in this film. And this movie has some really badass and intense scenes as well. Magneto killing off Shaw in this film is, to me, the scene I'm like, yep, he is now turned to Magneto, and it's so awesome. Let's also talk about Henry Jackson's score in this film. Man, this is, in my opinion, one of my favorite X-Men scores, especially Magneto's theme in this movie, Frankenstein's Monster. This is, in my opinion, one of the best villain themes that I've heard since probably the March from Star Wars. Like, seriously, this theme, I can listen to it all over again. You just want to be a badass after hearing Frankenstein's Monster's theme.
Let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster. I'm looking for my creator.
And it's sad that it didn't bring it back to Days of Future Past or Apocalypse, because man, Magneto's theme in this movie is so well done. But even like scenes through the training scenes, when Banshee flies and you get that awesome motivational superhero type music, where I'm just like, man, it makes me want to be a mutant. It makes me want to be a superhero after hearing the score.
Here, let me help.
Oh! Eric!
What? You know you were thinking the same.
But the score in this movie is really well done, and I love that this film has the 60s vibe. I love that you feel like you're in this timeline with the score as well, and also just the production design, the look of it. You feel like you're in the early stages of X-Men and the 1960s, and also the history is really well done with the missile crisis. I thought that's tied in really well done. This movie is just written so well as a prequel of how Professor X and Magneto became long-lost friends and enemies. And I thought the writing of X-Men First Class is really freaking well done. I would say like my only nitpick of this film is that some of the effects don't really hold up, like scenes with Angel flying. There are some noticeable blue screens that's put into it. Even Beast's design in this film is pretty much kind of dated. Like, it looks fun. It doesn't look as bad as a lot of people said. But yeah, some of the makeup and the visual effects does need a little bit fixing if they had more time with this film. But man, X-Men First Class, man, this is to me my favorite X-Men film in its entire series. This is an excellent prequel to the original trilogy. This movie ties in with the original trilogy really well. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are fantastic in this film. You understand both of their motives, you understand both of their motivations, and the performances that them two bring, especially Michael Fassbender. It's just done really freaking well. Even the X-Men mutants are really good in this film. They have really cool powers and really good motivations. And also, we have a great villain. Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw, one of the most intimidating and hateful villains that I've seen in this entire series. The 1960s vibe really holds up to this movie. The score in the movie is great, the action scenes are great, and just the overall writing. You understand the characters' motives. This is what you call an excellent prequel to the X-Men series, and this is definitely an X-Men movie that I will absolutely remember in this entire series.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
They're just kids. No, they were kids. You ready for this? Let's find out.
The cost of freedom is always high. No one can foresee precisely what course it will take. One path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender.
Listen to me very carefully, my friend. Killing will not bring you peace. Peace was never an option.
So guys, that is my review for X-Men First Class. Of course, my next review is going to be The Wolverine, which is in my opinion the most underrated film in the X-Men series with the first X-Men movie. So look forward to that, guys. I'll get the rest of the two X-Men movies out of the way because Deadpool and Wolverine is literally right around the corner. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of X-Men First Class. Do you like the movie, hate the movie, or you thought it's okay? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel now for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.